healing boom continues to prevail in the South Korean society. What is the background and implications for the South Korean economy? South Korea and Russia's relationship strengthens after the two countries held two summits this year. What is the current status of bilateral economic exchanges and expected accomplishment from the economic cooperation after the summits? Ensuring the nation's safety in a smart way. Everything about the various citizen safety services applying ICT technologies. South Korea is globally recognized not only for its skillful archers, but also for its high-quality archery equipment. What is the principle of this solid material and its secret to popularity? Let's meet Win and Win Archery, a South Korean manufacturer of bows and accessories. Russia and North Korea, which grew apart after the collapse of the Soviet Union, are moving to recover their relationship via reopening a railway recently. What is the background and intention behind this?
Hello, I'm Andrew Salmon, and welcome to Bizline. Now, South Korean President Park Geun-hye has just held a summit with her Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. How did the summit go? We'll find out. Moreover, why is Moscow so interested in upgrading ties with Seoul and also with Pyongyang? Again, we'll find out. We'll also be playing with some bows and arrows. In our tech segment, we'll be looking at some killer apps that could possibly save you from getting killed. So do stay with us. But before we go to those and other features, let's first take a look at all the breaking business and economic news hitting headlines across South Korea this week.
Seoul-based Korea Development Institute issued a forecast that the country's consumer prices is expected to surge by 1.1% this year, which is the lowest rate in 14 years. This year's estimate is less than the inflation target set by Korea's central bank, which is between 2.5 to 3.5%. The Bank of Korea said the nation's producer prices slid 1.4% from the same period a year earlier. The drop was led by agricultural goods, which fell by nearly 7%. Oil prices also dropped, with Korea's benchmark Dubai crude falling 3.1% last month. Service prices, however, rose 0.4%. Bank of Korea Governor Kim Jung-soo has dismissed concerns that rising levels of household debt could trigger a crisis similar to the subprime mortgage crisis that almost sunk the U.S. economy back in 2008. Kim says household debt will not trigger a crisis, as most of it is held by those in the top income bracket. This, he says, causes less of a societal burden than low-income earners with the great amount of debt. The Bank of Korea announced that it decided to freeze the key interest rate at 2.5%, citing lingering external uncertainties. The central bank said that while the global economy is showing signs of gradual recovery, there are still lingering concerns over the planned tapering of the U.S. stimulus program and the bipartisan clash in Washington.
'21st century South Korea is one of the most competitive societies anywhere in the world. But for the same reason, it is also one of the most stressful. To counteract this, there is a new boom underway across society and across the economy. It's called the healing boom, and it covers everything from body, mind and spirit exercise through to new forms of building, even new forms of construction material. So, if you want to soothe your soul, keep watching.
Healing is a word we hear often in Korea these days, and it is replacing once popular term well-being. Well-being and healing both aim to obtain happiness, but they differ in how people reach that goal. Well-being seeks physical well-being by eating right, while healing is about mental health. Healing, attending to one's mind to soundness, became a trend in South Korea due to prolonged economic hardship on the global front. Life isn't as easygoing as it used to be, and the people of this country are seeking means to console and heal their mind. In reflection to rise in such needs, businesses in mental health, yoga, meditation, any means to find peace in mind is thriving.
현재 진행 중인 힐링 산업의 분야로는 힐링 관련 개인 트레이너 등의 헬스 산업이 있고요. 힐링 여행, 힐링 캠핑, 힐링 랜드, 힐링 스테이 등의 관광 산업, 그리고 힐링 푸드와 연관 있는 환자식, 그리고 일반인들의 몸의 균형을 찾아주는 식단 등의 푸드 산업, 그 다음에 힐링 문화센터 등 아주 정말 다양하게 전개되고 있는데요. 이제부터 우리나라는 몇 년간 힐링 산업이 지속적으로 발전하리라 예측됩니다. 그야말로 힐링 산업의 초기 단계라고 할 수 있는데요. 점점 더 모든 산업으로 영향력이 파급될 것이고 특히 서비스 산업 분야로 두각이 나타내리라 예상됩니다.
As people take time to attend to maintaining good mental health, there are businesses growing to fulfill their needs, and examples can be found in places without having to take a long drive. There are even coffee shops designed especially to console tired minds, and art centers to help people find solace.
이곳은 삼림욕을 즐기며 미술과 음악을 통해 도심 속에서도 심신의 안정을 취할 수 있는 도심 속 힐링 스페이스입니다. 1층 카페는 삼림욕 카페인데요. 편백나무에서 추출한 식물 정유를 기화시켜서 피톤치드가 매장 내에 가득 차 있습니다. 실제로 삼림욕을 하러 교회나 산으로 나가서 많이들 하시는데 그렇게 하지 않아도 삼림욕의 효과를 직접적으로 경험하실 수 있고
테이블 같은 것도 나무로 되어 있고 그리고 냄새 같은 것도 약간 나무 향이 많이 나서 좀 더 많이 도심 속에서 힐링을 체험할 수 있는 것 같아요.
As it isn't easy for people to take time and leave everything behind, they come to places like this whenever they could to re-energize themselves, and they are willingly opening up their wallet.
이 근처에서 이런 도심 속에서 짧게나마 이런 공간을 쉽게 찾을 수 있고 자주 찾을 수 있다는 것이 저한테 마음속에 휴식처가 되고 그런 것들이 삶의 일상 속에서 활력소가 되는 것 같아서 굉장히 좋은 장소라고 생각합니다.
우리나라만의 특징인 빨리빨리의 정반대 개념으로 접근할 수 있는 슬로우 마케팅이 가능한 상품과 서비스가 상대적으로 많이 창조될 가능성이 높습니다. 긴축을 하면서도 팍팍한 현실을 잊으며 마음의 위안을 얻을 수 있기 위한 소소한 여가 소비가 증가할 것으로 예측됩니다.
There is also a rise in demand for a place where people can talk freely about the difficulties they are going through and release stress, which help to heal one's mind to a healthy state. People are now willing to talk to a stranger and pay for it, which wasn't so common only a few years ago in Korea.
친구들이랑 대화할 때는 그냥 공유하는 데서 그쳤다면 여기서는 오히려 솔루션 같이 해답을 주니까 답답했던 마음이 좀 더 가벼워지고 위안도 받고 안정이 되는 그런 기분이 들더라고요. 그래서 굉장히 도움이 많이 됐습니다.
주로 심리 상담을 하러 오시는 분들은 이제 10대, 20대가 많고요. 흔히 말하는 왕따, 아니면은 진로 문제, 아니면은 가족과의 갈등 그런 거를 통해서 이제 분노나 우울하신 분들이 많이 오시고요. 이제 30대 회사원분들은 이제 집에 가서도 가족한테 얘기하기 어려운 거, 그리고 친구를 만나기가 어려운 나이잖아요. 그래서 이제 그런 분들이 와서 상담을 하십니다.
Due to readjustment of family and population structures, it became more difficult to find solace the traditional way, and stress began to accumulate among people. Increase in one-person households and aging population resulted in people seeking places to heal their tired mind and relieve stress. Rise of one-person household in South Korea is the fastest in the world, which more than quadrupled to 4.3 million in 2011 from about 1 million in 1990. Moreover, due to aging population, 65-year-old and above took 24% of one-person household in 2000 and is expected to further expand to 40% by 2030. People in Korea are also burdened with financial stress. Since suffering the 1997-98 Asian financial crisis, job structure have changed and the middle class shrunk, indicating shift to unfavorable income distribution. Such changes brought on a need for a new industry unthought of just a couple of years ago. South Korea is now facing development of the so-called healing industry, which is bringing new business and economic activities. However, it will take more effort to have this industry sustained and not become a mere trend.
힐링 경제 영역을 제대로 갖추기 위한 제반 환경을 조성해 줘야 될 필요성이 있습니다. 아울러 힐링 고유의 컨셉에 맞춰서 마케팅을 전개해야 할 것이고 당연히 고객 측에 따라서 다른 형태의 서비스 전개 방식이 준비되어야 할 것입니다.
Healing one's mind brings on positive effect, and there should be more opportunities for people to fulfill their needs. However, the healing industry could become a thing of the bygone, just like the well-being trend. Thus, the industry should find means to sustain the healing environment.
Russia has long had a strong interest in the Korean peninsula, dating back to well before the days when then Korean King Kojong took refuge from predatory Japanese in the Russian legation in Seoul in 1896. And today, the relationship is getting warmer and closer. South Korean President Park Geun-hye recently took part in her second summit in just 2 months with her Russian counterpart, President Vladimir Putin. So clearly, Russia likes Korea, Korea likes Russia. But what is the potential, what is the promise for the relationship going forward? To answer this question, we have with us Moscow's man in Seoul. He is the Russian ambassador to Korea. He is Konstantin Vasilievich Vnukov. Ambassador, thank you very much for being here on Bizline.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay. Ambassador, first, you've just come down from this visit. What was the main outcome? What are the implications of the Putin-Park summit going forward?
I will start with 3 facts, which describe the importance of our relations and the importance of the Republic of Korea to the Russian interests and our foreign policy. First of all, you are absolutely right, my president and President Park Geun-hye. Within 2 months, they have just held the second summit in Seoul, this time full-scale summit. And it's a very unique situation within 2 months to have 2 summits. Secondly, my president, he became the first leader of the country which is of great importance. I mean, 4 countries for the foreign policy of the Republic of Korea. He became the first leader to come to Korea and to pay his official visit. And third, the Republic of Korea will become the first country in this part of the world with which we will have very quickly, starting from January next year, will have visa-free regime, visa waiver regime, and I'm very happy because it was one of my tasks.
Okay, well, congratulations on that. That is significant. I wasn't aware of it. Let's talk about business and economics. It's been 23 years since Moscow and Seoul reopened diplomatic relations. What is the status of trade and investment between the 2 countries currently?
I think that the Republic of Korea is our 3rd trade main partner in Northeast Asia after China. China is number 1, is maybe with all the countries number 1. Second, Japan, a little bit more than in our trade with the Republic of Korea. We have the trade turnover with Japan about 30 a little bit more than 30 billion US, and with the Republic of Korea, for the consequent third year, we have 25.
Okay.
25. And despite all the influences of the world financial crisis, we didn't suffer, and it's very promising. And what is also very important for both sides, the trade is balanced, well balanced. Well balanced. And we have a task put forward by our two presidents to have the trade turnover by the year 2015 to 30 billion. I think it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. It's not a big problem for us. Okay. But we are very much interested also in the development of investments, because the present level of investments, for example, from Korea to our economy, to the Russian economy, is not so large. It's about 2.5 billion US. I think we should concentrate on new fields of cooperation and create favorable conditions for further investments.
Clearly, Russia is richly endowed with natural resources. Korea is not, but Korea is a very strong manufacturer. Got some great technologies. What areas of infrastructure would you like, or of private business, would you like to see Korean investors move into in Russia?
Many fields, many fields. First of all, energy, of course, because we have huge plans for further development of the Russian Far East and Siberia, and especially now the Arctic areas. Very rich in energy resources, natural gas and crude oil. So we invited the Korean investors to take participation in these huge infrastructure projects, and then high technology. We have our priorities. Everybody knows, and our Korean friends also, that Russia is among the first countries in the world with a well-developed scientific research. But what we need the very rich experience of commercialization of the results of this research. If we combine our priorities and advantages with the Republic of Korea, I think we'll have the synergetic effect.
What about Russian companies coming to Korea? What would you like to see in terms of Russian investment in this country?
Actually, to be frank, I am very critical about the activities of our companies here. For many reasons. Maybe the local market is not so opened, not so well known to our companies, but we'll try our best to create good conditions, in our cooperation with the Korean partners to attract more investments from Russia. We can do it. Because we have a lot of big companies, Russian companies, which are investing huge sums of money in other countries. We have an experience, and we have knowledge, and we have a potential. Why don't we do it same way here in Korea? I think it's high time for our capital and for our money to come here.
Okay. That's perhaps your next task when you go home for vacation. But the big question, of course, is the issue of infrastructure. Now, there's been talk, I think, for at least 13, 14 years now about linking the Russian Far East with South Korea. Not just a rail link, but also a gas pipeline. These are huge potential projects, particularly linking Busan all the way through North Korea, through the Trans-Siberian, all the way through Moscow, Paris, London. A monster project, if ever there was one. What is the status of these two projects, and how likely do you think they are in the near or medium terms?
To be true, not two, but three projects. Three projects. We started to talk about three projects, infrastructure projects, in last century, 90s. And we have done a lot, visibility studies and scientific research, and even the negotiations on some projects, including railway and including gas pipeline and electricity network. Okay. Electricity, this is the third one. And this time we made a very important step. During my president's visit, we signed a special MOU on the railway project, the pioneer, we call it Pioneer Project Hassan Rajin, which is the not so long railway, 54 kilometers long, from our boundary, which is Hassan, to the port of Rajin.
In North Korea.
In North Korea,
Right.
in North Korea. And it's part of the huge project, which we are discussing for many years, the project of linkage between Trans-Korean Railway and Trans-Siberian Railway. So this time we made a very important step in our cooperation. Our leading railway company, All Russia Railways company group, they signed a MOU with POSCO,
Okay.
which is one of the leading Korean companies, Korail, and Hyundai Merchants. They signed this MOU inviting these three Korean companies to invest and to participate in this project. So I think in future we can see very good results.
You've just reached the MOU, the Memoranda of Understanding
It's a
stage.
very practical document. It's a very practical document.
Even
yes.
so, what is the hold-up and how realistic is it for us to push a project through North Korea, which is by no means an easy country to do business with?
Well, actually, one of the idea is to use this railway not only for passengers. Maybe in future we can talk about the passengers, but taking into account the export-oriented economy of South Korea, we can deliver the containers with the goods, Korean goods, from Busan or other ports in South Korea to the port of Rajin by ship, and then put it on the rails, and then to send it to Russia in containers. So this route, as to the estimates, will be at least 1/3 shorter than the traditional route. And plus, by the way, the same route we were discussing now with the South Korean leaders, so-called northern or polar route in Arctic. So also 1/3 shorter and much safer than the traditional route.
All the way by sea.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, safer. Luckily, we don't have any pirates in the polar areas. Only white bears.
Indeed.
It's a joke, of course. So actually, it's economically and I think business people, they are very much interested in economic efficiency. It will be very efficient. And plus, now we have a special strategy put forward by President Putin to modernize Trans-Siberian, and another route which is called Baikal-Amur Railway. Our government is investing huge sums of money, and we are also very much interested in inviting foreign investments in this modernization and to create the conditions to use Trans-Siberian, which is the longest railway in the world, in 7 days. We have a slogan, Trans-Siberian in 7 days. So it will create very good opportunities for business, and maybe in future for passengers as well. Yes.
Washington is talking greatly about this pivot toward Asia. What's the sense in Moscow? In Moscow also, is there a sense of looking much closer towards the east than towards the west, as it sort of historically has been the case?
Well, I'm a specialist on China, so I like this Chinese wisdom. If you want to go quickly and successfully, you should go on 2 legs. So we can use 2 legs.
Yeah.
First of all, our 2 priorities. You know that our national emblem, which is you can see here, 2 heads eagle. So one is looking to the east and another to the west. So it's quite natural for the country, which is located between Asia and Europe.
Yeah.
It's quite natural for us with the 2/3 of our territory belongs to Asia, to pay great attention to Asia, especially now when Asia Pacific is playing a leading role in, first of all, in economic development. So my President Putin, he stressed the importance of our Asian direction of our foreign policy, and the fact that it was his personal decision to arrange APEC summit exactly in Vladivostok, not in Moscow, not in St. Petersburg. We had a lot of options, but he said it should be held in Vladivostok, and we invested a lot of money for the construction of the sites in Vladivostok, because the meaning of the name Vladivostok means Vladivostok, it's to rule the East.
Okay.
It's a very deep meaning. It doesn't mean any aggressive, trends now, but it means that we are looking to the East, and we are more convinced that we are part of the East, and we should deeply integrate in the processes in this part of the world. We don't have any other options but to have excellent relations with the countries in this part of the world, and to be a very important factor both politically and economically for stabilizing the situation here, for giving new engines of economic development here, stable and peaceful.
Understood. Ambassador, sounds like you've got a lot of work ahead of you, but thank you very much for taking the time to be on Bizline, and good luck with all your endeavours.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Delightful. It almost goes without saying that personal information and communications technologies are all about being connected, all about communicating, and all about having fun, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But there is a more serious side to this gadgetry. There are now available a range of apps which are designed to save you from crime or disaster. So stay with Bizline as we take a look at some killer apps that could possibly save your life.
This is an era when everyone carries a smartphone and high-speed communications networks are set up nationwide. The citizen safety services using smart infrastructure are appearing one after another. Let's meet the smart safety services, the ICT technologies that ensure people's safety. A woman walking in a dark alley late at night. To prepare for possible emergencies, she sends her current location data to her guardian using a Return Home mobile application. Why are these various crime preventative applications being developed and gaining popularity? South Korea's public safety level is quite high, with its crime rate only half the average crime rate of OECD member countries. But according to a Korea Development Institute's report released early this year, the crime rate in South Korea is in a rising trend. Accordingly, the government is aggressively moving to strengthen the public safety. If a real emergency situation arises when you are walking in a dark alley, there is not enough time to dial 112 and explain your location and circumstances. What would be a more effective way to handle this situation? This service enables making a report to the police by simply pressing a button. When in an emergency, the user presses the smartphone's external button for a long time. Then the user's location data will be immediately sent to the 112 reporting center.
저희 경찰과 통신사가 연계되어 있기 때문에 그 신고자의 핸드폰 기지국 정보 혹은 GPS 정보를 이용해서 신고자의 위치를 파악하고 신고자와 가장 가까이에 있는 순찰차가 현장으로 배치되게 됩니다.
The biggest advantage of the service is that the report is automatically made without having to make a sound in an unexpected situation.
신고자가 말할 수 없는 상황에 처했을 경우에도 좀 더 효율적으로 대응을 할 수 있고 범죄자 입장에서는 검거 가능성이 더 높아진다라는 심리 때문에 범죄 심리가 조금 억제될 수 있을 것 같습니다.
The taxi is a convenient means of transportation we can take late at night, but it is also that much more vulnerable to crimes. The Seoul government has come up with a special measure to prevent taxi-related crimes.
택시 안심 기가 서비스는 우리 시에서 늦은 밤 택시를 통해서 귀가하는 시민들을 위해서 안전하게 택시를 이용할 수 있도록 시행한 제도입니다. GPS가 달려있는 택시 탑승 시에는 실시간 위치 정보를 확인할 수 있어서 안심하고 택시를 탑승할 수 있습니다.
How do we use the taxi safety service? All we need to do is register our smart transportation cards online and apply for the service. After taking a taxi, the passenger touches the transportation card to the taxi's card reader. As soon as the card reader gets the card's information, the taxi's vehicle number, as well as the time and place of departure, are immediately sent to the person's guardian via a text message.
서울시의 모든 법인 택시에는 위치를 확인할 수 있는 GPS 모듈이 설치되어 있습니다. 이 카드 결제기와 GPS 모듈은 모두 각각의 고유 번호가 있어 승객이 카드를 대면 카드 결제기는 서버로 카드 정보를 전달하고 마찬가지로 GPS 모듈은 차량의 위치 정보를 전달합니다. 서버가 승객의 카드 번호를 확인하면 그에 해당하는 승객과 보호자의 휴대전화 번호로 위치 정보와 차량 번호를 문자로 전송하게 됩니다.
After arriving at the destination, the arrival place and time will be sent to the guardian once again via a text message. The places where the passenger got on and off the taxi can immediately be verified via a smartphone app.
밤 늦게 야근하거나 친구들이랑 놀다가 집에 갈 때 너무 무서웠었거든요. 택시를 탈 때마다. 이 서비스를 이용하고부터는 저도 안심이 되고 그리고 또 집에 계신 부모님도 같이 안심이 되니까 아무래도 이전보다 훨씬 좋은 것 같아요. 우리
시에서는 그래서 이런 신용카드를 갖고 계신 청소년층이 이용할 수 있고 그리고 회원 가입 못하신 승객분들 위해서 NFC를 택시 내부에 부착을 하게 됩니다. 스마트폰을 이용해서 바로 태그를 하게 되면 보호자에게 문자 메시지 전송해서 안전하게 택시를 이용하실 수 있겠습니다.
The National Emergency Management Agency protects people from disasters by providing emergency rescue services. A prompt and precise report is the key to a quick arrival to the scene. The agency is running a multimedia reporting system for various disastrous situations to diversify emergency reporting methods. In a situation when making a voice call is difficult, a person can report an emergency to 119 via a text message or explain the scene more thoroughly via a video call.
또 외국인의 경우에는 자신이 어디에 있는지를 설명하기 어려운 경우들이 많았는데 이런 새로운 애플리케이션이나 문자, 영상을 통해서 신고를 할 수가 있겠죠. 청각장애인의 경우에는 전화상으로 신고를 하는 게 불가능했었는데요. 영상통화로, 수화로 도움이 필요하다는 말씀을 하시면 저희 안전요원, 상황요원들이 수화로 주변을 비춰달라 이렇게 대응을 할 수가 있고요. 그래서 그동안은 신고를 하기 어려웠던 분들도 이제 활용할 수 있는 시스템을 갖췄다. 말씀을 드릴 수 있습니다.
By touching the icon of the 119 emergency report app, the person's GPS data will be immediately sent to the 119 situation room.
기존에는 이제 전화를 하게 되면 그 신고자의 위치가 대략적으로 200m에서 약 한 3km 사이에서 그 사고를 당한 사람을 찾아야 했었거든요. 근데 이제 스마트폰 애플리케이션으로 신고를 하게 되면 GPS 정보를 사용할 수 있게 됩니다. 그래서 신고자의 위치가 20m에서 70m 안쪽으로 그 오차 범위가 상당히 줄었습니다. 그래서 사고를 당한 사람을 빨리 이제 찾아서 구조할 수 있다는 점에서 아주 큰 장점이 있습니다.
The citizen safety services have gotten smarter by applying ICT technologies. We hope crimes and disasters could disappear with prompt and scientific rescue services.
Robin Hood, William Tell, eat your heart out. When it comes to hitting the bullseye with bow and arrow at the Olympics and other global sporting events, it's the South Korean archers who are the world's best. But it's not just about using bows. Koreans are actually pretty good at making them too. In fact, right now, a South Korean company is vying to become the #1 bow maker in the world. So without further ado, let's meet this week's hidden champion.
Korean archery is at top-notch level in the world. Since its establishment back in 1975, Korea's national team for archery has maintained the top spot at the Olympics, international competitions, and at world championships. Korea is famous for its archery techniques and outstanding archery equipments that world-class archers use during competition. The Korea Land and Housing Corporation archery team is one of the famous competing teams in Korea. The archers in this team use a Korean brand archery bow that has been made by a domestic company, Win & Win. Archery is a sport that is easily affected by the weather and other external factors like the environment and the equipment. This is why it is important to choose the right type of archery bow. On what basis do athletes choose their bows?
처음에 이제 활을 고를 때 중요시하는 게 파워나 속도, 스피드를 되게 중요시하는데 다른 타사 활에 비해서 이 위닌인 활은 무게가 가벼운데도 속도나 파워가 떨어지지 않는 게 정말 큰 장점이라고 생각합니다.
활이 차지하는 비중이 상당히 중요한데 위닌인 활의 이제 성능이 좋아지면서 저희들 경기력도 상당히 향상됐고 전체 우리나라 선수들 비중으로 본다면 한 80% 가까이는 저희들이 지금 위닌인 활을 사용한다고 보시면 됩니다.
We visited Win & Win, which is a company that started its business when sports items were not available in Korea. Since then, the company has come a long way to become a leader on the global market. The company's CEO, Park Hyung-rae, used to be a national team player in archery, as well as a national team coach and director. He got involved in the bow manufacturing business in 1993.
실제로 이제 대표 코치 감독을 하면서 느낀 가장 컸던 점은 아쉬웠던 점은 당시 이제 그 미제 호이트하고 일제 야마가 제일 유명한 활이었는데 그 활조차도 완벽하지 못하고 문제점이 많았습니다. 그래서 정말 좋은 활을 한번 만들어 보자라고 어느 날 생각하게 됐고 사실은 그에 대한 나름 굉장히 강한 필요성을 느끼게 됐습니다. 그래서 당시에는 굉장히 어려운 상황이었습니다만 과감하게 박차고 시작을 했었죠.
Before Win & Win, the world archery equipment market was dominated by Hoyt, which is an American company with 100 years of experience, along with Japan's Yamaha. Win & Win focused on research of the bow handle, which is an important part of the bow, which was a reflection of the company's determination to differentiate itself through technology and product quality. In 2008, the company introduced a bow handle made from carbon fiber for the first time in the world, creating a new wave in the archery equipment market, which was dominated by aluminum archery handles.
기존의 양궁 핸들은 알루미늄으로 또는 다이캐스팅이라든가 단조로 만들었던 금속 제품인데 이제 우리는 그걸 전체적으로 카본 섬유로 핸들도 만들고 이렇게 했던 것이 이제 좀 차별화가 됐고
탄섬유는 사람 머리카락의 10분의 1 이하의 두께이면서도 여태까지 발견된 어떠한 섬유보다도 더 강한 그러한 섬유입니다. 특히 알루미늄 대비해서는 인장 강도는 약 50% 이상, 그 다음에 탄속률은 200% 이상이면서도 그 무게가 50% 이상 절감이 됩니다. 따라서 이러한 재료를 쓰게 되면은 신뢰성이 향상되고 무게가 가벼워지기 때문에 훨씬 더 좋은 적중률을 볼 수 있는 겁니다.
Win & Win has recently succeeded in creating an archery bow with high durability and performance by incorporating the carbon nanotube technology, which has astonished the archery industry. The carbon nanotube is the latest material, which is less than 1/10 the thickness of a hair strand and 100 times stronger than steel.
양궁을 제조하는 그 프로세스 내에 접착 공정이 있습니다. 그 접착 공정에 쓰이는 접착제가 CNT를 넣음으로 해서 접착력이 한 30-40%가 높아졌다는 것이고 CNT라는 그 나노라는 작은 입자가 진동을 이렇게 흡수하는 경향이 있어요. 기존 진동을 30% 내 줄일 수 있는 획기적인 결과치를 저희들이 발견한 거죠.
The carbon nanotube is excellent in absorbing vibration caused when the archers pull the bow, which helps to improve their game. When the arrow is shot with an aluminum bow, the string showed unstable and irregular movement. When the CNT was used, the bowstring movement became more regular, proving to be more accurate and stable. Win & Win has focused on research and development based on assessment of the equipments most needed by the athletes. During last year's London Olympics, more than half, some 52% of the 325 athletes playing for archery used the Win & Win bow, proving its excellence. Win & Win archery bows have increased market share every year, now outpacing the United States Hoyt to take the #1 spot, although a late starter in archery equipment.
호이트라는 회사는 역사적으로 100년 된 정말 명품 회사입니다. 모든 면에 있어서 저희들이 경쟁을 하기에는 좀 버거운 상태죠. 그런데 저희들이 호이트를 이길 수 있는 길은 지금까지 그래왔듯이 개발이라든지 어떤 첨단화가 활발한 회사라는 그런 이미지가 지금까지 왔다고 생각을 하고 앞으로도 여전히 마찬가지로 그런 부분은 진행되어지고 있다고 생각합니다. 그래서 지금보다도 훨씬 더 비중 있는 R&D 부분에 집중된 투자 이런 것들이 필요하다고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
Win & Win anticipates the future as the global leader and as the company responsible for creating the Korean wave on the world market, backed by the success of Korean archery.
It was the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin who first placed Kim Il-sung at the head of the North Korean state and later supported Kim when he launched the devastating Korean War in 1950. However, following the collapse of European communism in the late 1990s, Russia's once close ties with North Korea frayed significantly. Now, however, Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was recently in Seoul, is seeking once again to strengthen ties with this erstwhile ally. What is behind Russia's attempt to reinvigorate this sagging relationship? In our North Korean segment, we'll find out.
South Korea and Russia last week signed a memorandum of understanding to allow South Korea to participate in a railway and port project in North Korea, raising hopes of easing tensions on the Korean peninsula and opening of North Korea. But all that will only be possible if Russia succeeds in persuading its rogue nuclear neighbor to stop further provocations and become a reliable member of the international community. During the Cold War, two of the world's most reclusive and repressive states maintained close relationship as political and military allies sharing the same ideology. That changed dramatically after the collapse of the Soviet Union.
소련이 러시아로 변하고 러시아가 이제 더 이상 공산국가가 아니기 때문에 이데올로기적인 동지로서의 관계는 사라지고 또 동맹 관계도 해체돼서 이제는 단순한 이웃 나라로서의 설린 우호 관계 정도로 변했다라고 보입니다.
Their relations improved somewhat after Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Pyongyang in 2000, and North Korean then leader Kim Jong-il made a returning visit to Moscow the following year.
러시아의 그 국가 목표는 강한 러시아를 건설하고 또 경제 현대화, 특히 시베리아 극동 지역을 개발하는 데 있습니다. 따라서 동북아 특히 한반도는 러시아하고 그 접경 국가이기 때문에 한반도 그 안정이 굉장히 중요하고 또 북한과의 관계도 굉장히 중요하다고 할 수도 있겠습니다.
In particular, North Korea is believed to have been aggressively working to restore relations with Russia after China expressed its displeasure with Pyongyang Pyongyang has been also trying to reduce its political and economic dependency on Beijing as trade and inflow of Chinese money into the reclusive socialist state jumped in recent years.
They can, for example, use Russia in order to limit Chinese influence, because now the major worry of the North Korean leadership is excessive influence, economic and political influence of China inside North Korea. They don't like it. So they will be very happy to see Russians coming back and giving them a lot of money, a lot of aid, a lot of technology, so they will use it to distance themselves from China without moving too close to Russia, manipulating both Russia and China as they have done for many decades.
Russia has no reason to turn its back on its one-time communist ally. In September, the two countries opened the 54-kilometer railway linking Russia's Hasan and North's Rajin. Russia needs cooperation from North Korea to complete the Trans-Siberian Railway that would be connected to the railway systems running between two Koreas. But prospects of economic and political cooperation between the two countries remain in doubt.
There will be a great deal of smiles, occasional high-level visits, support for some diplomatic initiatives, like, say, the six-party talks. Russia is clearly supportive of the six-party talks. There will be a very limited economic cooperation, very limited.
In fact, compared to China's trade with North Korea, which reached $3.14 billion in the first half of last year, Moscow's trade with Pyongyang was only $38.8 million during the same period.
북러 경협 관계는 북한의 경제가 발전해서 산업 생산 능력이 생겨야 보다 궤도에 오르지 않을까 이렇게 생각되고, 그렇기 때문에 결국은 북한에서 동력을 찾기 힘들기 때문에 남북러 삼각 경협 사업 이런 것이 되기 전에는 북러 경협은 뭐 그렇게 그다지 진척될 가능성이 별로 없다 이렇게 생각합니다.
Instead, North Korea's geopolitical importance is expected to keep Russia as its friendly neighbor for a while.
지금 미국이 아시아 회귀 정책을 추진하고 있고 또 일본이 그 집단적 자위권에 집착하고 있기 때문에 지금 러시아로서는 북한의 그 지정학적인 위치가 굉장히 중요하게 됐습니다. 그래서 이제 안보 면에서도 북한을 또 중시하지 않을 수 없는.
South Korea is still a more important economic partner to Russia than North Korea. But Moscow also knows that without Pyongyang's cooperation, it would not be able to carry out grandiose development projects, which it wants Seoul to participate.
러시아로서는 북한에게 뭐 경제적으로 큰 이득을 볼 사항이 별로 없고, 결국 북한의 존재는 한러 교역의 장애물로서 여겨지는 것입니다. 그런 상황에서 러시아는 북한과의 우호 관계를 유지하고 또 북한의 안보 딜레마 상황을 고려해 주면서 북핵 문제를 해결해서 미국의 동아시아 군비 강화 이런 것을 견제하고, 그런 가운데 남북러 삼각 경협 이런 거를 진흥해서 러시아의 경제적 이득도 취하고 동아시아에 대한 러시아의 영향력도 다시 찾자, 이런 전략하에서 경제 협력 부분에서 한반도를 쳐다보고 있는 것입니다.
North Korea seems to know Russia's limited role in supporting it politically and economically. Still, it won't let Russia turn its back on the long-standing communist ally. Russia also needs North Korea to check the powers of China and the United States in the Northeast Asia region.
North Koreans are not going to do anything which offend Russia now, because they badly need Russia as a symbolic friend, somebody to show to their own public, and they still hope that Russia can be somehow dragged into the situation. Again, not going to happen. So I don't expect that it will have any significant impact.
There's no question that North Korea and Russia need each other. They're expected to maintain their friendly relations, but it could be difficult for them to restore the relations to encompass political and military cooperation they had during the Cold War era.
And that's all we have time for on Bizline this week. But do join us next week. We'll be looking at polyketon, a surprising and interesting new material invented right here in South Korea. What's its potential? What's its promise? We'll find out. But right now, I am colder than a penguin in a refrigerator, so it's time to sign out. I'm Andrew Salmon. This was Bizline. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.